There was a house at the top of Birchwood Lane. Everyone in Harwick, Vermont knew the house. Not because it was beautiful. It was beautiful. But that was not why people knew it. People knew it because of the man who lived inside it. Or more accurately, because of the man who did not come out of it. Callum Harte had not been to the grocery store in 4 years. He had not been to the post office in 3. He had not been to the diner on Main Street, which he had once gone to every Sunday morning for waffles and black coffee, and the particular quiet of an early morning before the town woke up, in 2 years and 7 months. He had not sat in the back pew of St. Augustine's, which was the pew he preferred because it was closest to the side door and he could leave without making an event of it, in 2 years and 4 months. He had not stood at the edge of his own front lawn and looked at the street in 1 year and 9 months. He had not opened his front door for a stranger in 1 year and 2 months. He had not opened his front door at all for anyone in 11 weeks. This was, by any reasonable measure, a problem. Callum Harte was aware it was a problem. He had been aware of this in the way you are aware of a slow leak in a roof. You know it is there. You intend to deal with it. And then one day you realize the ceiling has come down. Callum was 44 years old. He was not unhealthy in the physical sense. He ate. He slept, though not always well and not always on a schedule that corresponded with the rest of the world. He had a treadmill in the spare room that he used for 40 minutes every morning because Dr. Okafor had told him that movement was non-negotiable, and Callum had been raised to believe that when a doctor tells you something is non-negotiable, you do not negotiate. He drank coffee. Too much of it, probably. 4 or 5 cups a day in the winter, more in the deep January dark when sleep was a stranger and the house settled into its particular cold silence, and there was nothing to do but read and drink coffee and wait for the morning to make itself known. He read. He had always read. Even at the worst of it, the reading had not stopped. Books were the one thing that had not left. He had over 2,000 of them. He knew this because he had catalogued them. He had catalogued them during a winter that was particularly bad, during a stretch of 3 weeks when the grief had been so present and so heavy that he needed something to do with his hands that required no thought. So he had catalogued every book, by author, by subject, by the year he had acquired it. He had made a spreadsheet. He had color-coded it. He had added notes about which ones he had read more than once and which ones he had started and set aside, and which ones he had been given by people who were no longer in his life. There were 53 books in that last category. He kept them on a shelf in the back hallway. He did not read them often. But he did not get rid of them either. He was not yet ready to get rid of them. He thought perhaps he never would be. Callum Harte, 44 years old, former professor of literature at Harwick College. Not former by choice. Former because Harwick College had, with great care and considerable awkwardness, suggested that a leave of absence might be appropriate given the circumstances, and the leave of absence had extended, quietly and without formal discussion, into something that was no longer a leave. Former husband. This was the word that lived in the middle of him. Former. He had been married for 11 years. He had been married to Josephine, who everyone called Jo, who had brown hair she wore in a braid most days and who laughed at things he had expected no one to laugh at, and who had made their house into a home so completely that when she left, the house had become something else entirely. Not empty. The things were still there. Her books were still on the shelves. Her mug was still in the cabinet. The quilt she had made during the winter she decided to learn quilting, which had taken her 6 months and had turned out somewhat lopsided because quilting was harder than the YouTube video suggested, was still on the back of the armchair by the window. These things were still there. But the thing that had made them home was not. She had not died. He wanted to say this carefully because it mattered. She had not died. She had left, which was its own kind of grief. Not the grief of loss through death, which has a shape, a ceremony, a language everyone already knows. The grief of being left, which has no ceremony, no language that fits cleanly. Just the fact of a person deciding that the life you had built together was a life she needed to leave. 3 years ago. 3 years, 2 months, and approximately 16 days. Not that he was counting. He was absolutely counting. He had stopped understanding why he was counting about 8 months ago. He had not stopped counting. Jo had left because of many things. This was true. He knew it was true. He had examined it with the same thoroughness he had applied to the book catalog, only without the color coding, because some things do not benefit from color coding. She had left because the grief had changed him. Not Joe's leaving. Something before Joe's leaving. The thing that had started all of it. The accident. His son, Eli Harte, who had been 9 years old and who had been riding his bike on the path along the river on a Saturday afternoon in September, and who had not come home. The driver had been a young man in a hurry. He had not seen the bike path. He had come around the bend too fast. He had hit the brakes. He had been too late. Eli. The word lived at the bottom of everything. Every thought. Every book he catalogued. Every cup of coffee. Every morning on the treadmill. Every window he looked out of. Every door he did not open. Eli. 7 years ago. Callum was 37 when it happened. He was 44 now. 7 years. He had read somewhere that grief has no timeline. He believed this. He also believed that 7 years of not going to the grocery store was a sign that something needed to change. He just had not known until a Tuesday in November what that change was going to look like. Or that it was going to knock on his door. Literally. With small fists. At 8:15 in the morning. When he was on his second cup of coffee and had not yet combed his hair. The knock was small. He knew immediately it was not an adult's knock. Adults knock differently. With more certainty. More weight. This knock was tentative. But persistent. 3 small knocks. A pause. 3 more. A longer pause. 2 more. Then silence. Then, just as Callum was deciding whether to acknowledge this, a voice. Small. But caring. The specific caring quality of a child who has been told to speak up, and has taken this instruction seriously. Hello? Is someone in there? I can see smoke coming from the chimney, so I know you're home. Callum put down his coffee. He looked at the door. He had not opened the door in 11 weeks. He had groceries delivered. He had library books delivered. He had everything delivered. His entire relationship with the outside world happened through a door that opened briefly, received a package or a bag and closed again. The smoke from the chimney was evidence he had not considered. A logical flaw in his system. He should have thought of that. Hello, the voice said again. I don't want to bother you. I have something to deliver. It's for a school project. My teacher says it's important. I can leave it on the step if you want. But she said I should try to deliver it personally. A pause. I really am sorry to bother you. My name is Owen Marsh. I live on Birchwood Lane. Not this house. The yellow one down the hill. The one with the broken fence on the left side. My mom says we're going to fix the fence, but we haven't yet. Another pause. I'm 9. Almost 10. My birthday is in March. Callum stood very still in his kitchen. He listened to this small voice tell him biographical information through a closed door. He thought about the 11 weeks. He thought about what Dr. Okafor would say. He thought about what Joe would say, in the part of him that still heard her voice sometimes. She would say, Callum, for goodness sake, open the door. He opened the door. The boy was small for 9. He had dark hair that had been brushed into submission this morning, but was already staging a comeback on the left side. He had a gap between his 2 front teeth. He had brown eyes that were currently very wide because apparently he had not entirely expected the door to open. He was wearing a blue jacket that was slightly too big for him. He had a backpack on his shoulders. In his hands he held an envelope. He looked at Callum. Callum looked at him. For a moment neither of them spoke. Then the boy said, You look like you haven't combed your hair. I hadn't gotten to that yet, Callum said. The boy considered this. That's okay, he said generously. It's early. He held out the envelope. This is for you, he said. From Mrs. Colton. She's my teacher. She lives in the house on the corner of Birchwood Lane and Maple Street. The one with all the bird feeders. She said she knows you. Callum looked at the envelope. Margaret Colton. He did know her. He had known her for 15 years. She had been the children's librarian at the Harwick Public Library before she retired and became a second-grade teacher because, as she had told him once, she could not stop. She had been a friend of Joe's. She had been at one point a friend of his too. He had not spoken to her in 18 months. He took the envelope. She said she tried calling, the boy said. And she tried emailing. And she wrote a letter, but she wasn't sure the mail was getting to you. So she said she was sending me. He paused. I don't think she meant it like I was the mail, he added, with the precision of a child who wants to be clear. Just that I was a reliable delivery method because I walk past your house every day going to school. That's a reasonable use of an available resource, Callum said. The boy looked at him. He was deciding something. Callum could see him deciding it. Are you really a professor? He said. Mrs. Colton said you were a professor. Of stories. Of literature, Callum said. Which is stories, yes. I like stories, the boy said. What kind do you like? Callum considered this. He had not been asked what kind of stories he liked in a very long time. The kind that are true, he said. Even when they're made up. The boy thought about this. My favorite story right now is about a dog, he said, who goes on an adventure. He finds a treasure, but the treasure isn't gold. It's his friend. My teacher read it to us. What did you think of it? Callum said. The boy considered very carefully. I think the dog should have also gotten some gold, he said. Because friendship is great but gold is practical. Callum almost smiled. Almost. It had been a while since his face had tried to do that. That's a very pragmatic reading, he said. The boy was not sure what pragmatic meant, but he could tell it was not criticism. He accepted it. He shifted the backpack on his shoulders. I have to go to school, he said. I'll be late if I stay longer. Mrs. Colton said not to be late. Then you should go, Callum said. The boy turned. He took 2 steps down the porch. He turned back. Does your fire stay on all day? He said. The chimney smoke. I walk back this way after school. I'll know if you're home. I'm always home, Callum said. The boy looked at him. Something moved in the brown eyes. Not pity. Not judgment. Something else. Something more careful and more knowing than either of those things. Okay, he said. He turned and walked down the hill. Callum watched him go. He looked at the envelope. He looked at the street. It was the first time he had stood at his open front door and looked at Birchwood Lane in 1 year and 9 months. The street looked the same. Mostly. The oak at the corner had grown. The Waltersons had put in a new mailbox. The yellow house down the hill, the one with the broken fence on the left side, had a small garden in front with the last of the fall flowers going dry. He stood in his doorway and looked at it. He closed the door. He went back to his kitchen. He opened the envelope. Margaret Colton's handwriting was exactly as he remembered it. Precise. Slightly slanted. The handwriting of a woman who had a specific opinion about everything, and whose opinions were usually correct. Dear Callum, I have tried other methods and I have run out of patience, which you know is a condition that does not come easily to me. So I am sending Owen, who is reliable and cheerful and will probably talk to you about dogs, because he is currently very interested in dogs. I am not writing to ask how you are. I know how you are. I know because I can see your lights from my back porch and I know your patterns by now. And I know because Dr. Okafor is my neighbor and he worries out loud more than he realizes. I am writing because I need your help. Owen Marsh is 9 years old. He lives in the yellow house on Birchwood Lane. He is in my class this year. He is the most intelligent child I have taught in 31 years of teaching, and I have taught some remarkable children. He also has not spoken in school in 4 months. Not because he cannot. You saw that yourself, I imagine, when he delivered this letter. He speaks perfectly well. He is articulate and curious and has opinions about everything. He simply stopped speaking at school in July, when his father left. He speaks at home. His mother tells me he is quiet but present. He speaks to me sometimes very briefly when the other children are not around. He spoke to you just now, I suspect, because you are not a child and not a teacher and not someone who knew him before, and therefore you present no particular social risk. He is not in crisis. He is in grief. There is a difference, and I know you know the difference. I am asking if you will be his reading companion. 1 hour a week. You choose the books. He comes to you or you come to the library, whichever you can manage. I am asking because you are the best reader I have ever known, and because Owen needs someone who understands what it is to be very quiet because the world got too loud. I think you need each other. I know you are going to say no. I am asking anyway. With great affection and considerable stubbornness, Margaret. Callum read the letter twice. He set it on the kitchen table. He drank his coffee. He thought about what it said. He thought about the boy. The gap between his teeth. The hair staging its comeback. The envelope held in two hands. The gold is practical. He thought about Margaret Colton. About her precision and her stubbornness and the fact that she had tried calling and emailing an actual male before resorting to a 9-year-old. He thought about how long it had been since he was useful to anyone. He thought about the word companion. He thought about what Eli had looked like at 9. He thought about this for approximately 5 seconds before he made himself stop. He was very practiced at stopping. It was one of the things he was best at. He picked up the letter. He read it a third time. He thought about what it said about Owen. Not speaking at school. For months. The father leaving. The quiet. He thought about his own quiet. He thought about how the quiet had started small. How it had grown. How a person could intend to be quiet for a week and look up 4 years later and find that the quiet had become a house around them. He put the letter down. He looked out the kitchen window. The chimney smoke was still going. Evidence of occupancy. The boy had pointed this out. He went to his study. He stood in front of his bookshelves. He ran his hand along the spines. He thought about what books you give a 9-year-old boy who has gone quiet because the world got too loud. He thought about this for a long time. He took 3 books off the shelf. He held them. He put one back. He took a different one. He looked at the 2 he had chosen. He thought, probably I am going to say no. He thought, but I should at least have the books ready. Just in case. Part 2. The things that don't fit. He wrote Margaret a letter. He wrote it by hand, which was a thing he had not done in a long time. He had once written everything by hand. His lecture notes. His book notes. Letters. He had been known at Harwick College for the detailed handwritten notes he left on student papers. Students had kept them. This was something he had known and been moved by. He had not written anything by hand in 2 years and 3 months. He found a pen. He found paper. He sat down at the kitchen table. He wrote, Margaret, I am saying yes, which surprises me as much as it will surprise you, though probably not for the same reasons. 1 hour a week is manageable. The library is not manageable at the moment. If Owen can come here, we will do it here. I have chosen 2 books to start with. I will not tell you which ones. You will probably have opinions. I do not wish to have the opinions before we begin. Tell his mother to bring him on Saturday mornings. Not too early. 9:30. I will have the fire going. This is not a promise of anything beyond Saturday mornings. Callum. He put the letter in an envelope. He put the envelope on the table. He looked at it. He thought about the fact that he would need someone to take this letter to Margaret. He thought about the boy. He thought about the chimney smoke. He thought about the walk back from school. He thought, the boy said he walks back this way. He put the envelope on the outside of the front door. He put a small piece of tape on the top of it. He wrote on the front of the envelope in careful letters, for Owen Marsh to deliver to Mrs. Colton. He went back inside. At 3:45 in the afternoon, he heard footsteps on the porch. Very small. Then silence. Then a knock. 3 small knocks. He went to the door. He opened it. Owen was standing there with the letter in his hand and an expression that was difficult to read but contained, somewhere in it, something that might have been relief. I found the letter, Owen said. Good, Callum said. Did you write it by hand? Owen said. Yes, Callum said. My dad used to write letters by hand, Owen said. He said it the way children say hard things sometimes. Plainly. Without warning. As a simple fact that they have been carrying for a while, and occasionally set down in front of whoever happens to be nearby. Callum said nothing for a moment. Will you deliver it? He said. Yes, Owen said. I pass her house. He turned the envelope over. He turned it back. Did you say yes? He said. That's between me and Mrs. Colton, Callum said. Owen looked at him. He assessed this answer. He decided it was not a no. Okay, he said. He put the letter in his backpack. He turned to go. He turned back. This was apparently something he did. Can I ask you something? He said. You can ask, Callum said. Why don't you go outside? Owen said. I see the grocery bags on the step. And the library books. They deliver them. Why don't you go get them yourself? Callum looked at this small person who had asked the exact right question with the exact wrong amount of preparatory context. It's complicated, he said. Owen thought about this. My dad said that too, Owen said. About why he had to go. He said it was complicated. He looked at Callum. I think complicated is what people say when the real reason is too hard to say, he said. Callum looked at the boy. For a moment he could not speak. Not because he had nothing to say. Because he had too much. You might be right, he said. Owen nodded. Like this confirmed something. I'll deliver your letter, he said. He walked down the hill. Callum stood in his doorway and watched him go. He watched the yellow house with the broken fence. He looked at it for a long time. He went inside. Margaret sent Owen back on Friday with a note. The note said, Saturday at 9:30 is perfect. His mother is bringing him. Her name is Sarah. She is a good person in a hard situation. Be kind to her. Also, I told you that you were going to say yes. Callum folded the note and put it on the kitchen table. He thought about Saturday. He thought about having a child in his house. He thought about the last time he had a child in his house. He stopped. He thought about the books he had chosen. He thought about whether they were right. He went back to the shelf. He stood in front of it for 40 minutes. He chose differently. He put back one of the original choices and took out a different one. He stood in his study and held 3 books and thought about a boy who had gone quiet because his father left. He thought about what books do to quiet. How sometimes they fill it. How sometimes they make space inside it. How sometimes they give you a language for things you have not had words for. He put 2 of the books on the table by the fireplace. He held the 3rd one. He thought about Eli. He thought about how Eli had loved the story about the lighthouse keeper who talked to the ocean. He had read it to him 7 times. On the 8th time he had let Eli read it to him. Eli had read it in a serious voice. The particular serious voice of a child who is doing something important. Callum held the book. He put it on the table. He went to bed. He slept badly. He was used to sleeping badly. Saturday at 9:28 a car stopped at the bottom of his driveway. He was watching from the window. He had been watching from the window since 9 o'clock. He was not going to admit this. A woman got out of the driver's side. She had red hair and she was wearing a green coat and she had the look of someone who was managing a great many things and was committed to managing them with a minimum of visible difficulty. Owen got out of the passenger side. He had the same blue jacket. The same hair situation. A backpack. The mother said something to him. He said something back. She straightened his collar. He submitted to this with the resigned tolerance of a child who has accepted that collar straightening is a thing that happens. She watched him walk up the driveway. She stood at the car. She did not get back in. She watched. Callum moved away from the window before Owen could see him watching. He opened the door before Owen knocked. Owen looked surprised. I saw you coming, Callum said. Oh, Owen said. He looked back at his mother. She waved from the car. Callum raised a hand. She nodded. She got back in the car. She didn't drive away immediately. Callum noticed this. He respected it. Come in, Callum said. Owen came in. He stood in the hallway. He looked around with the careful attention of a child cataloging a new environment. He looked at the books. There were books everywhere. On shelves. On tables. On the bottom 2 steps of the staircase. On the windowsill. On the bench by the door. Owen looked at all of them. How many books do you have? He said. 2,047, Callum said. Did you read all of them? Most. Owen looked at a shelf. He tilted his head to read spines. Do you have the one about the dog? He said. The one with the treasure that's a friend? I might, Callum said. Tell me the title. I don't know the title, Owen said. My teacher read it to us. The dog is brown and he has floppy ears. That narrows it down to approximately 300 dogs in literature, Callum said. Owen looked at him. He decided Callum was not being mean. He was being precise. His name starts with a B, Owen said. I think. I'll look, Callum said. You don't have to look right now, Owen said. We can look later. Or not. It's okay. He followed Callum into the sitting room. He stopped when he saw the fireplace. He stood in front of it. He put his hands out toward the heat. He was quiet for a moment. My grandma has a fireplace, he said. In her house in Maine. We go there in the summer. Do you like Maine? Callum asked. I like the water, Owen said. And the smell. And Grandma's house smells like wood and something else. I don't know what the other thing is. It's not a bad smell. Just old. Books smell like that, Callum said. Old paper. Owen looked at him. Is that what this house smells like? He said. Probably, Callum said. Owen sniffed. He considered. A little, he decided. Also coffee. And something else. What else? Owen thought. Quiet, he said. It smells like quiet. I don't know how that's possible. But it does. Callum looked at this child, who had just described his house more accurately than anyone who had been in it in years. Sit down, he said. Owen sat on the rug in front of the fire. He did not choose the chair or the couch. He chose the floor. Callum thought this was the right choice. He sat in the chair. He had the 2 books on the table beside him. Do you know why you're here? Callum said. Mrs. Colton said you were going to read with me, Owen said. That's right, Callum said. Do you know why? Owen thought about this. Because I stopped talking at school, he said. And she thinks books might help. Do you think books might help? Callum said. Owen was quiet. He looked at the fire. I don't know, he said honestly. Books are good. But they're not real. The things that hurt are real. Books are about real things, Callum said. Even when the things in them are made up. Owen thought about this. Like how the dog story is actually about friendship, even though it's about a dog? Exactly like that, Callum said. Owen looked at the 2 books on the table. What did you choose? He said. Callum held up the first one. Owen looked at the cover. That's a big book, Owen said. We're not going to read it all today, Callum said. We're going to read the first chapter. Then we're going to talk about it. Then maybe we read a little more. Does that sound all right? Owen thought. What's it about? He said. A boy who gets left somewhere and has to figure out how to survive, Callum said. Owen looked at the book. He looked at Callum. Did you choose that one because of me? Owen said. Callum considered whether to be honest. Partly, he said. Owen was quiet for a moment. Okay, he said. That's okay. He settled himself on the rug. He pulled his knees up. He put his chin on his knees. He looked at the fire. You can start, he said. Callum opened the book. He began to read. He read for 20 minutes. Then he stopped. Owen had not moved. He was still in the same position. Knees up. Chin down. Eyes on the fire. But he was listening. You could tell. His whole body was the particular still of someone who is entirely present inside a story. Callum had seen this in his students. He had seen it in his lectures when he read aloud. He had seen it a long time ago in a small boy with ears that were slightly too big for his head who sat in the exact same way. He stopped thinking about that. What do you think so far? He asked. Owen thought. I think the boy is scared, Owen said. But he's pretending he's not. Why do you think he's pretending? Callum said. Because if you admit you're scared, then you have to think about what you're scared of, Owen said. And sometimes that's worse. Callum sat with this for a moment. That's a very perceptive reading, he said. What's perceptive? Owen said. It means you saw something true that not everyone sees, Callum said. Owen considered this. My mom says I see things that other people miss, he said. She says it's because I watch instead of talking. She's probably right, Callum said. Owen was quiet. Then he said, Do you watch instead of talking? Usually, Callum said. Is that why you stay inside? Owen said. Callum looked at the boy. The question was direct. Without malice. The kind of question that only very young people and very old people ask. The kind that goes straight to the center without planning to. One of the reasons, Callum said. Owen nodded. Like this was an acceptable answer. He looked at the book. Can you read more? He said. Callum read more. They read for an hour. When Sarah came back, Owen was still on the rug. He had moved from his chin-on-knees position to lying on his stomach with his chin in his hands, which Callum thought was a sign of comfort. When the knock came, he sat up. He looked at Callum. "Do I have to go?" he said. "Your mother is here," Callum said. Owen made the face of a person who knows something is correct but finds it inconvenient. He stood up. He went to the door. Sarah was on the step. She had the look of a person who had spent the hour not knowing what to do with herself and had ended up driving around. "How was it?" she said to Owen. "Good," Owen said. "What did you do?" "Read," Owen said. She looked at Callum over Owen's head. Her expression was complicated. There was gratitude in it, and something careful. The look of a person who has had enough disappointments to be careful about hope. "Thank you," she said. "He's welcome back next Saturday," Callum said. She looked at Owen. Owen looked at his mother. Something passed between them. The particular language of two people who have been alone together through a hard thing. "Okay," she said. "Next Saturday." Owen turned to Callum. "The boy in the story," he said. "Does he figure it out? In the end?" "Come back next Saturday and we'll find out," Callum said. Owen thought about this. He was weighing whether this was acceptable or a manipulation. He decided it was acceptable. "Okay," he said. He walked down the step. He turned back. Already Callum was beginning to understand this was something Owen did. "I'll look for the smoke on the way to school," Owen said. "On Monday." "You'll see it," Callum said. Owen nodded. He went to the car. Callum watched them drive away. He stood in the open doorway for a moment. He looked at Birchwood Lane. He looked at the yellow house down the hill with the broken fence. He closed the door. He went back to the sitting room. He picked up the book. He read the next 2 chapters. He had forgotten how much he missed this. Not the reading. The reading had continued. The sharing. The being in a story with another person. The particular way a story changes shape when there is someone else inside it with you. He had forgotten. Or rather, he had not forgotten. He had simply put it away. The way he put many things away. He thought perhaps he had been putting things away for so long that the house was full of stored things that no longer fit any of his shelves. He thought perhaps it was time to take some of them out. He thought this very carefully. Very tentatively. The way you think about something you are not yet ready to commit to but are beginning to allow. He read 2 more chapters. He put the book down. He made coffee. He looked out the window. The yellow house. The broken fence. A small light on in what might have been a kitchen. He stood at the window for a while. He went to bed. He slept slightly better than usual. Only slightly. But slightly. Part 3, the Saturdays. Owen came back the next Saturday. And the Saturday after that. And the one after that. By the 4th Saturday it was simply a fact of the week. Owen on Saturday mornings. Sarah's car at 9:28. The hair situation. The blue jacket. The backpack. The fire already going. The book. The rug. The chin on the knees. They finished the first book on the 3rd Saturday. Owen sat very still through the last chapter. When it was done he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "He made it." "He made it," Callum agreed. "Because he didn't stop," Owen said. "Even when it was really bad. He just kept going." "Yes," Callum said. Owen looked at the fire. "Do you think real people can do that?" he said. "Or just people in books?" Callum thought about how to answer this honestly. "Real people can," he said. "It's harder in real life because in real life you don't know the ending. You don't know if the keeping going is going to work." Owen thought. "But you keep going anyway," Owen said. "You keep going anyway," Callum agreed. Owen was quiet. He turned the cover of the book over in his hands. "My dad stopped," he said. The words came out quietly. Not dramatically. Just a fact set down in the room between them. Callum waited. He was very good at waiting. He had learned during the worst years that the most important thing you can do for someone carrying something heavy is not rush them. "He left in July," Owen said. "He just went. He said he was going to get better. He's been sad for a long time. A sick sad. Not regular sad. The kind you need a doctor for. And he said the best way for him to get better was to go away for a while. But it's been 4 months and he hasn't come back." And he calls sometimes, but it's hard to talk on the phone because I don't know what to say. He looked up. Is that a reasonable thing for a dad to do? He said. Leave to get better? Callum thought carefully about this. He thought about what was true and what was kind and whether those two things could live in the same answer. I think, he said slowly, that people who are very sick sometimes make decisions that are the best they can do at the time, even if those decisions hurt the people they love. Owen thought about this. So he didn't leave because of me? Owen said. No, Callum said. He said it with more certainty than he usually applied to things he was not entirely sure of. But in this case he was sure enough. He left because he was sick, Callum said. And he was trying to get better. Those are his reasons. They're about him, not about you. Owen looked at the fire. I know that, he said. My mom says the same thing. And Mrs. Colton. And the school counselor. He paused. But knowing something and feeling it are different, he said. They are, Callum said. You know that too, Owen said. It was not a question. I do, Callum said. Owen looked at him. What happened to you? Owen said. That made you stay inside? The question. The direct, clean 9-year-old question. With no padding. No preparatory softness. Just what happened? Callum looked at the fire. He thought about whether to answer. He thought about the boy on the cover of the book they had just finished, who had not stopped, even when it was hard, even when the ending was not visible. I lost someone, Callum said. 7 years ago. Owen was quiet. Someone who died, he said. Yes, Callum said. Owen thought about this. Who? He said. Callum was very still. He had not said the name to anyone in a long time. He said it to Dr. Okafor sometimes. In the careful clinical way. My son Eli. He had not said it to anyone in the casual, ordinary way. The way you say a name that belongs in conversation. My son, he said. His name was Eli. The name. In the room. With the fire and the books and the small serious boy on the rug. Owen was quiet. He sat with this in the way he sat with things. Completely. Without hurry. How old? He said. 9, Callum said. He was 9. Owen was very still. He looked at the fire for a long time. The same as me, he said. Yes, Callum said. Owen thought. He thought for so long that Callum wondered if the conversation had ended. Then Owen said, Is that why you said yes? When Mrs. Colton asked you to read with me. Callum thought about this. Honestly. Partly, he said. And the other part? Owen said. The letter was good, Callum said. Owen almost smiled. She writes good letters, he said. She does, Callum said. Owen looked at the 2 books on the table. What's the next one? He said. Callum held it up. Owen looked at the cover. What's it about? He said. A boy and an old man, Callum said, who are very different from each other, and who become friends because they're stuck in the same place. Owen thought about this. Are we a bit like that? He said. Callum looked at the boy. We might be, he said. Owen nodded. He settled back on the rug. He put his chin on his knees. Okay, he said. You can start. On the 6th Saturday, Owen's mother Sarah came in. She usually waited in the car or walked and came back. This time she knocked. Callum opened the door. She was holding a container. She held it out. I made soup, she said. It's nothing fancy. I just thought. You're always very kind to him and I wanted to do something. Callum looked at the container. He thought about the last time someone had brought him food. Not delivered. Made and brought. He could not immediately remember when. You didn't have to do that, he said. I know, she said. I wanted to. She looked past him. Owen was on the rug. He had fallen asleep. This had happened on the previous 2 Saturdays as well. The combination of the fire and the quiet and the story apparently did something that the rest of the week did not do. Sarah looked at her son sleeping. Her face did the thing that parents' faces do. The soft private thing. The one that does not know it is happening. He slept through the night last week, she said quietly. First time in 3 months. Callum said nothing. He doesn't talk yet, she said. At school. But his teacher says he's present again. She says he looks at the board now, Before he was just not there. She looked at Callum. Whatever you're doing, she said. I'm reading to him, Callum said. I know, she said. But it's more than that. She looked at Owen. He talks about you, she said. At dinner. He says, Callum said this. Callum said that. He told me about Eli. Callum was very still. I hope that's all right, Sarah said. It's all right, Callum said. She looked at him. Her expression was careful. Honest. I'm sorry, she said. About your son. 2 people on a doorstep in November. One of them holding a container of soup. Both of them carrying things that had changed the shape of their lives. Thank you, Callum said. She handed him the soup. She stepped back. Wake him gently, she said. He doesn't wake well suddenly. It startles him. I know, Callum said. I've learned. She nodded. She walked back to the car. She sat in it. She did not drive away immediately. Callum noticed this. He had noticed she always did this. He went inside. He put the soup on the counter. He looked at Owen sleeping on the rug. He thought about the boy in the book they were reading. He thought about being stuck in the same place. He thought about how that was not always a thing to escape. Sometimes being stuck in the same place with the right person was the beginning of something. He went to his study. He found a second copy of the book they were reading. He brought it out. He set it on the table. He thought, when Owen wakes up, I'll show him. He sat down. He waited for Owen to wake up. He was very good at waiting. Part 4. The letter. On the 9th Saturday, Owen came in and did not sit on the rug. He sat in the chair across from Callum's chair. He sat in it the way he had seen Callum sit. Straight. Considered. He put his backpack on the floor. He looked at Callum. I want to write a letter, he said. Callum waited. To my dad, Owen said. I want to write him a letter. I've been thinking about it for a while. My mom says I should call him. But I can't say the things on the phone. On the phone it's like the words don't come. I need to write them. He looked at his hands. I don't know how, he said. How to write a letter. Callum said. How to say what I want to say, Owen said. I know how to write. I'm good at writing. My teacher says so. What do you want to say? Callum said. Owen thought. He thought for a long time. The fire was going. The books were around them. The house was its particular quiet. I want to say that I'm not mad, Owen said. Even though I am a little. But mostly I want to say I understand. Even though I don't completely. But I want him to know I'm trying to. He looked at Callum. And I want to ask him to come back, he said. Not right away. I know he needs time. But I want him to know I want him to come back. 'Cause maybe he thinks I don't. Maybe he thinks I'm too mad. He said the last part quietly, with the particular weight of something that had been sitting heavily for a long time. That's a great deal to say in a letter, Callum said. I know, Owen said. That's why I need help. Callum thought about letters. He thought about the letters he had written and never sent. He had a drawer in his study. He knew exactly what was in it. Letters to Joe. Letters to the young man who had been driving the car. Letters to Eli. Every letter had been written in the middle of the night. None of them had ever been sent. He had not looked at them in a long time. He thought about this now. The most important thing about a letter, Callum said, is to say the true thing first. Not the polite thing. Not the careful thing. The true thing. Even if the true thing is complicated, Owen said. Especially then, Callum said. Because if you bury the true thing under the polite things, it never gets said. And then the letter doesn't do what you need it to do. Owen thought about this. Can we do it now? He said. We can start, Callum said. He got up. He went to the study. He came back with paper. Real paper. Not notebook paper. The thick cream-colored writing paper he had not used in years. And a pen. He set them on the table between them. Owen looked at them. That's nice paper, he said. Letters deserve nice paper, Callum said. It tells the person you took them seriously. Owen picked up the pen. He held it. He looked at the blank page. How do you start? He said. With the name, Callum said. Just Dear Dad. Owen wrote it. His handwriting was careful. More careful than you might expect from a 9-year-old. Each letter deliberate. Now what? Owen said. Now tell him you're writing because talking is hard, Callum said. Don't apologize for it. Just explain it. Owen wrote. He wrote slowly, thinking between each sentence. He showed Callum what he had written. Callum read it. He thought about it. He said, this sentence here. The one about being a little mad. Don't soften it. Say it exactly as you said it to me. Owen read the sentence. He erased the softened version. He wrote it as he had said it. He looked at it. That's scary, he said. The true things usually are, Callum said. Owen kept writing. They sat at the table for 40 minutes. Owen writing. Callum reading. Suggesting. Not changing. Suggesting. The distinction mattered. The words had to be Owen's. When Owen was done, he had 2 pages. He set the pen down. He read both pages to himself. His lips moved slightly as he read. He looked up. Is it good? He said. Callum thought about how to answer this. It's true, he said. Which is better than good? Owen looked at the letter. He folded it. He was quiet. Have you ever written a letter to someone you couldn't talk to? He said. Callum looked at the wall above Owen's head for a moment. Yes, he said. Did you send it? Owen said. No, Callum said. Owen thought about this. Why not? He said. Callum thought about the drawer in the study. He thought about what was in it. He thought about why those letters had not been sent. Because I wasn't ready, he said. Are you ready now? Owen said. Callum looked at this 9-year-old boy who was looking at him with the direct eyes of someone who has asked a clean question and deserves a clean answer. Some of them maybe, Callum said. Owen nodded. He put his letter in an envelope. He did not seal it. He looked at the envelope. I'm going to add a drawing, he said. My dad likes drawings. He keeps them. He had all my drawings on the wall in his office. He reached into his backpack. He took out a small sketchbook. He opened it to a blank page. He drew. He drew quickly, with the particular confidence of someone who has been drawing for a long time. When he was done, he showed Callum 2 figures, a tall one and a small one. The tall one was clearly an adult. The small one was clearly a child. They were standing next to each other. Between them, a book. Open. That's us, Owen said. I'm showing him what I do on Saturdays. Callum looked at the drawing. The 2 figures. The book between them. It's a good drawing, he said. I know, Owen said, with the unself-conscious honesty of someone who is simply accurate about their abilities. I'm good at drawing. He put the drawing in the envelope. He sealed it. He wrote his father's name on the front. He held the envelope. Can I leave it here? He said. Until I'm ready to send it? Yes, Callum said. Where will you keep it? Owen said. Callum thought. With my letters, he said. Owen looked at him. He understood what this meant. Okay, he said. He handed Callum the envelope. Callum held it. He looked at Owen's careful handwriting on the front. He went to the study. He opened the drawer. He set Owen's letter inside. He looked at the letters in the drawer. His own. Decades of unsaid things. Owen's letter on top. A thing ready to be said. Just not yet. He closed the drawer. He went back to the sitting room. Are you ready for the book? He said. Owen was already on the rug. Chin on knees. Ready, he said. Callum sat down. He picked up the book. He opened it. He read. Part 5, The Drawer. That night Callum opened the drawer. He had not opened it in 2 years. He knew what was in it. He had not needed to open it to know. He counted the letters. 11. 3 to Joe. 2 to the young man who had been driving. The young man's name was Daniel Park. He was 23 when it happened. He was 30 now. Callum knew this. He knew it because he had looked. Once, 2 years ago, he had found Daniel Park's address and had sat with it for an evening. He had not done anything with it. He had put it in the drawer with the letters. There was a letter to Eli. There were 4 letters to himself. Written in the very worst nights. The kind of nights you do not like to remember but cannot entirely pretend did not happen. He did not read those. He was not ready for those. He looked at the letter to Eli. He had written it on the night after the funeral. He remembered writing it. He had sat at this desk, in this chair, in this room. It had been 3 in the morning. The handwriting was not as careful as usual. He had been, that night, not careful. He had been unraveled. He had written things that were unraveled. He held the envelope. He did not open it. He sat with it in his hands. He thought about Owen's letter. The true thing first. Not the polite thing. The true thing. He thought about what the true things were. He had been thinking about them for 7 years. He had written some of them in this drawer. He had put the drawer away. He had built the quiet house around them. The book catalogs. The grocery delivery. The chimney smoke. Everything in order. Everything controlled. Everything very still. Everything except the thing in the drawer. He set the envelope down. He went to make coffee. He stood in the kitchen. He thought about Eli. He thought about the things Eli had loved. The lighthouse keeper story. Cereal for dinner when his mother would allow it. The oak tree in the backyard. He had been building something in the oak tree. A structure of his own design. He had been calling it the thinking house. It was never finished. The wood was still there. In the tree. After 7 years. Callum had not gone to the back garden in 2 years. He had stopped being able to. He stood at the kitchen window. The back garden was dark. The oak tree was there. He could see it. The shape of it against the sky. He turned away from the window. He went back to the study. He looked at the drawer. He looked at the envelope. He looked at Owen's letter on top. The careful handwriting. Dear Dad. He thought about what it was to write the true thing when the true thing was very heavy. He thought about Owen writing, I'm not mad, even though I am a little. He thought about 9-year-old courage. The specific kind. The kind that doesn't call itself courage because it doesn't know that's what it is. He opened his own envelope. He read the letter he had written on the night after the funeral. He read it once. Then he set it down. He sat very still. He thought about what the letter said. He thought about whether he still believed it. He thought about what had changed. He thought about what had not. He picked up a pen. He started writing. Not a new letter. An addition to the old one. 7 years later he wrote, Here is what I know now that I didn't know then. He wrote for a long time. By 2 in the morning he had 3 pages. He did not read them back. He put them in the envelope with the others. He sealed the envelope. He put it back in the drawer. He closed the drawer. He went to bed. He slept. Not perfectly, but better. Something about the writing. Something about the truth being on paper rather than only in his head. Something about that specific shifting of weight. He had forgotten about that. He had forgotten how it felt to put a true thing outside yourself. Even if you sent it nowhere. Even if it stayed in a drawer. The act of forming it. Of giving it shape on a page. Of saying this is real, I am acknowledging that it is real. He had forgotten. Owen was teaching him things. He was not sure Owen knew this. He was not sure it mattered. He slept. Part 6. What Margaret knew. On the 11th Saturday, Margaret Colton came with Owen. She came in her own car. She knocked alongside Owen as if this was a completely ordinary thing. As if she had always come with Owen on Saturdays. Callum opened the door. He looked at Margaret. She looked exactly as he remembered her. Slightly smaller perhaps. The same precise expression. Reading glasses on her forehead. I'm not staying long, she said. I just wanted to see you. You could have come at any point in the last 2 years, Callum said. I know, she said. And so could you. They looked at each other. 2 people who had known each other for 15 years. Who had not spoken in 18 months. Neither of them with an entirely clean conscience about this. Come in, Callum said. She came in. Owen went directly to the sitting room and the rug and the fire with the ease of someone who knows where they belong. Margaret stood in the hallway. She looked at the books. She ran her finger along a spine. Still organized by author, she said. And subject, Callum said. With color coding in the spreadsheet. She looked at him. Something in her face shifted. Not judgment. Sadness. The kind that comes from knowing someone well. I should have come sooner, she said. I would have made you leave, Callum said. Probably, she said. But I should have tried. He thought about this. He thought about the 11 weeks without opening the door. He thought about the grocery deliveries. He thought about what the house had become before Owen knocked. You tried other methods, he said. I did, she said. And then you sent Owen, he said. And then I sent Owen, she said. She looked toward the sitting room. The sound of Owen settling on the rug. The small sounds of a child getting comfortable. He's something, Callum said. He is, Margaret said. You said he was the most intelligent child you'd taught in 31 years, Callum said. I meant it, Margaret said. Not in the measurable way. Not test scores and reading levels. In the way of a person who understands things that cannot be taught. She looked at Callum. He started talking in class last week, she said. Just once. But it was the right once. Callum waited. We were reading a story, Margaret said. About a lighthouse. The other children were answering questions about the lighthouse. What does it do? Why is it important? All the practical answers. She smiled. Owen raised his hand, she said. First time in 4 months. He raised his hand and he said, the lighthouse doesn't know it's keeping people safe. It just keeps shining. It doesn't get to see if the ships make it. She looked at Callum. The class went completely quiet, she said. Even the children who are never quiet. Even Thomas Kowalski, who has not been quiet in 3 years. Callum thought about this. He thought about Owen on the rug. He thought about the books. He thought about, the lighthouse doesn't know it's keeping people safe. I told you, Margaret said. Not in the measurable way. No, Callum agreed. Not in the measurable way. She looked at him. How are you? She said. Not the polite version. The real version. The one that wants a real answer. Better, he said. Slowly. What does slowly look like? She said. He thought about this. I'm sleeping a little better, he said. I opened the back door last week. I stood in the doorway for about 2 minutes. She waited. I wrote something, he said. In the night. I hadn't written in a long time. What kind of something? She said. A letter, he said. That I won't send. But it needed to be written. She looked at him for a long time. Joe called me, she said carefully. Callum was very still. She worries about you, Margaret said. I'm not saying this to upset you. I'm saying it because I think you should know. Callum said nothing. She doesn't want anything from you, Margaret said. She's not looking to come back. That's not what I'm saying. But she worries. She always did. Callum looked at the books. At a shelf near the door. At a spine he recognized from another life. I know she worries, he said. He said it simply. Without bitterness. Which surprised him slightly. He had spent years carrying bitterness about Joe leaving. Not because she was wrong. Because he had needed somewhere to put the grief that was already there, and bitterness had a shape he could use. He thought perhaps without quite noticing, the bitterness had become something else. Something quieter. Something that was closer to understanding. Not forgiveness. He was not ready to name it forgiveness. But something in that direction. I'll think about calling her, he said. Margaret looked at him. You don't have to, she said. I know, he said. I just thought you should know, she said. I know, he said again. She looked at the sitting room. At Owen. He's been good for you, she said. We've been good for each other, Callum said. She raised an eyebrow. Don't look at me like that, Callum said. I'm not looking like anything, she said. You have a very specific look, Callum said. The I told you so look. She tried not to smile. I would never, she said. You would, he said. You already are. She let the smile happen. It was a good smile. It was the smile of a woman who has waited patiently for something to happen, and is now seeing it happen. Stay for coffee, Callum said. She looked surprised. Are you sure? She said. I made enough for 3, Callum said. She looked at him. He could not tell what she was thinking. He rarely could. Owen takes his with a great deal of milk and 1 sugar, she said. He'll say he doesn't want coffee, but he does. I know, Callum said. She followed him to the kitchen. He put the coffee on. She sat at the kitchen table. She looked at the table. At the paper and pens set to one side. At the 2 books. At the container she recognized from Saturday before last. She's a good woman, Margaret said. Sarah. She is, Callum said. She's had a hard year, Margaret said. I know, Callum said. She never complains, Margaret said. Neither does Owen, Callum said. Margaret looked at him. That's part of what worries me, she said. The children who don't complain. They carry it all so quietly. And quiet can become a habit. Callum thought about his own quiet. His particular, practiced, extensive quiet. I know, he said. She looked at him. He looked at her. They were both thinking the same thing. He could see them both thinking it. Yes, he said. I know that from personal experience. She nodded. She did not say, I told you so. She was better than that. She accepted the coffee. She called to Owen. Owen appeared in the kitchen doorway. He looked at Margaret. He looked at the coffee. He looked at Callum. You told her my coffee order, he said to Callum. She told me, Callum said. Owen considered who was responsible for this information exchange. He sat down. He accepted the milky coffee. He wrapped both hands around the mug. He looked at Margaret. I talked in class, he said. You did, she said. Did you tell him? Owen said, nodding at Callum. She told me, Callum said. Owen looked at his coffee. It felt weird, he said. Not bad. Just weird. Like my voice was different. How was it different? Callum said. Owen thought. Like it had been resting, he said. And it came out a bit surprised to be used. Margaret made a sound. Something between a laugh and something else. That's exactly what it sounded like, she said. Surprised to be used. Owen looked at his coffee. He was deciding something. I think I might talk more, he said. At school. A little. Not all the time. But some. That sounds right, Callum said. The right amount, Owen confirmed. Not too much. I still think quiet is important. It is, Callum agreed. But not all the time, Owen said. Not all the time, Callum agreed. Owen drank his coffee. Margaret looked at Callum over Owen's head. The look was not the I told you so look. This was a different look. It was the look of someone who has been worried for a long time and is slowly, carefully beginning to be slightly less worried. Callum looked back at her. He thought, I am going to need to call her more often. He thought, 18 months was too long. He thought, I know that. He thought, I am getting better at knowing the things I know and then doing something about them, rather than putting them in a drawer. He thought, this is progress. He thought, it is slow progress. He thought, slow progress is still progress. He drank his coffee. The kitchen was warm. The fire was going in the next room. 3 people at a table. 2 books. Paper and pens. A container of soup on the counter from the week before. A house that had been very quiet for a very long time. Still quiet. But a different kind of quiet. A quiet with people in it. Part 7, The Back Garden. It was Owen who asked about the tree. He was at the kitchen window one Saturday in December. He had finished his milky coffee and he was looking at the back garden. He did it without plan. He just went to the window the way children go to windows. Because something is there and they want to see it. He stood at the window for a while. There's a tree, he said. Yes, Callum said. There's something in the tree, Owen said. Like a platform. Up in the branches. Callum said nothing. Owen looked at him. Did you build it? Owen said. No, Callum said. Owen looked at the tree. He was thinking. Callum knew that Owen was working something out. He had learned to recognize this. The particular stillness. Eli built it, Owen said. It was not a question. He was building it, Callum said. He didn't finish. Owen was quiet. He looked at the platform in the tree. Does the wood get worse if it just stays there? He said. Over time, Callum said. Owen turned from the window. He looked at Callum directly. We could finish it, he said. Callum was very still. Owen, he said. Not today, Owen said quickly. I know it's cold. And there's snow. And also I can tell that's a big thing to ask. I'm not asking for today. I'm just saying we could. Sometime. If you wanted. Callum looked at the boy. At his open, direct face. At his gap-toothed honesty, at the complete absence of manipulation. Owen was not trying to fix him. He was not trying to engineer a healing moment. He had seen a tree with a platform and had the thought that it could be finished. That was all. He was 9. That was how 9-year-old thinking worked. Straightforward, uncluttered by what it might mean. Callum looked at the tree. He had not gone near it in 2 years. He had stood at the back door once. He had not gone further. He thought about Eli's hands. His small, serious hands with the tools. Taking the job so seriously. Measuring things twice. He had been that kind of child. The measuring twice kind. Callum looked at the half-finished platform. He thought about it staying there. Getting worse over time. The wood deteriorating. The nails rusting. The structure Eli had started becoming nothing. He thought about it being finished. He thought about what that would mean. Whether it would mean something wrong. Whether finishing it would be an overwriting of something he needed to keep. He thought about the letter in the drawer. He thought about what he had added to it in the night. 7 years later, here's what I know now that I didn't know then. He thought about what he knew. He thought about what finishing the platform might be. Not an overwriting. Not a replacement. A continuation. The way a story continues past the place where you put it down. Not in December, Callum said. Owen waited. In the spring, Callum said. When the snow is gone. When it's warm enough. Owen looked at him. He understood this was a real answer. Not a way to avoid. A real timing. Okay, Owen said. Spring. He looked at the tree one more time. He went back to the sitting room. He sat on the rug. He picked up the book. He looked at Callum. Ready when you are, he said. Callum went to his chair. He sat down. He picked up the book. He looked at the window. At the back garden. At the oak tree. At the platform Eli had started. He turned back to the book. He found their place. He began to read. Part 8, Christmas. He had not decorated for Christmas in 3 years. He had not seen the point. There was no one to decorate for. He had put the boxes in the basement and not taken them out. He thought about them sometimes. The boxes. He knew exactly what was in them. He had put them away himself. The year after Eli died. Jo had packed most of the Christmas things the year after she left. She had left his things. The things she knew were specifically his. The ornament his mother had given him the first Christmas he lived alone. The small wooden reindeer Eli had made in 1st grade. The star for the top of the tree. He had put them in boxes. He had put the boxes in the basement. He had not opened them. He thought about them on the 1st of December. He thought about them on the 5th. He thought about them when Owen mentioned on the 8th Saturday that his class was going to make paper chains for the classroom and would Callum like one. For your house, Owen said. You could put it in the window. So it looks like someone lives here. Callum looked at Owen. Someone does live here, he said. I know, Owen said. But from outside it doesn't look like it. It looks like a very nice dark house. It would look better with a paper chain. Callum thought about this. I'll accept a paper chain, he said. Owen looked satisfied. He went back to his book. Callum thought about the boxes in the basement. That evening, after Owen had gone home, he went to the basement. He stood at the top of the stairs. He had not been to the basement in 18 months. He went down the stairs. He turned on the light. The boxes were in the corner. 4 of them. Marked in Jo's handwriting. Christmas. He stood and looked at them. He thought about what was inside. He thought about Owen. He thought about the paper chain. He went to the first box. He opened it. He looked inside. He did not take anything out yet. He just looked. The red and gold ornaments Jo had chosen. The lights. Wrapped in the exact way he had wrapped them last. He looked at them. He went to the second box. He opened it. He saw the small wooden reindeer. He picked it up. He held it. Eli had given it to him, age 6, with the particular pride of a child presenting something they made themselves. I made it at school, Dad. It's for you. It's a reindeer. I know the legs are a bit uneven, but the teacher said that's okay. Callum held the reindeer. He sat down on the basement floor. He sat for a while. He thought about 6-year-old Eli and the legs being a bit uneven and the teacher saying that's okay. He thought about 9-year-old Eli measuring things twice. He thought about the platform in the tree. He sat on the basement floor for a long time. He was not crying. He was not crying. He was something in between. A specific state he had learned over years. The state of being very near the grief without being inside it. Near enough to feel it. Near enough to let it be real. Not inside it. Not lost. Just near. He sat on the basement floor until his legs were cold. He got up. He took the box with the reindeer in it. He carried it upstairs. He put it on the kitchen table. He looked at it. He made coffee. He drank it. He looked at the box. He opened it again. He took out the reindeer. He put it on the windowsill by the kitchen window. He looked at it there. He went to bed. He slept. The next Saturday Owen arrived and looked immediately at the kitchen windowsill. He saw the reindeer. He did not say anything about it. He looked at it. He looked at Callum. He said, "Do you have a tree?" "No," Callum said. "Do you want one?" Owen said. "I'm thinking about it," Callum said. Owen thought about this. "My mom knows where to get a good one," he said. "There's a farm stand about 2 miles out. They have the nice ones. She goes every year." "I'll look into it," Callum said. Owen accepted this. He went to the sitting room. He stopped. He turned back. "Callum," he said. "Yes." Owen looked at the windowsill. At the reindeer. "The legs are uneven," he said. "I know," Callum said. "But it's good," Owen said. "It has character." "Yes," Callum said. "It does." Owen looked at the reindeer for one more moment. Then he went to the sitting room. He sat on the rug. He put his chin on his knees. He said nothing more about it. Callum stood in the kitchen and looked at the reindeer on the windowsill. He thought about Owen looking at it. He thought about character. He thought about all the things that were uneven. His life. The platform in the tree. The reindeer. The letters in the drawer. All uneven. All having character. All still there. Waiting to be seen. Waiting to be found worthwhile. He went to the sitting room. He sat in his chair. He picked up the book. He read. Owen brought the paper chain on the Saturday before Christmas. He produced it from his backpack. It was 7 feet long. It was made of green and red and gold paper. It had small stars cut into some of the links. Owen held it up. "I made the stars," he said. "The plain ones were from the class. The stars were mine." He handed it to Callum. Callum held the chain. He looked at the stars. Each one carefully cut. Not perfect, but very careful. "Where should it go?" Owen said. "You decide," Callum said. Owen looked around the sitting room. He considered seriously. He considered for quite a long time. "The window," he said. "So you can see it from outside and inside." "Both." They put it in the window. Owen stood back. He looked at it. He seemed satisfied. He turned to Callum. "Better," he said. "Now it looks like someone lives here." "Someone does live here," Callum said. "Now it shows," Owen said. He went to the rug. Callum looked at the chain in the window. He thought, the lighthouse doesn't know it's keeping people safe. It just keeps shining. He thought about Owen saying that. He thought about this chain in the window. He thought about a small light. Visible from outside. Evidence of presence. Evidence of someone in there. Not hiding. Present. He thought this was something. He did not know exactly what. But something. On Christmas Eve, a car stopped in front of the house. He was not expecting anyone. He was reading by the fire. He heard the car. He went to the window. He looked out. It was Sarah's car. He watched the car. No one got out immediately. Then the passenger door opened. Owen got out. He was in his blue jacket. He had a bag in one hand. He walked up the driveway. He knocked. Callum opened the door. "Merry Christmas," Owen said. "Merry Christmas," Callum said. Owen held out the bag. Callum took it. He looked inside. A container. Wrapped in a dishcloth to keep it warm. He could smell it. Something with herbs. Something that smelled like care. There was also a small package wrapped in plain brown paper with a red ribbon. Owen had written on the paper in careful letters. For Callum. From Owen. "You didn't have to do this," Callum said. "I wanted to," Owen said. "Mom made the soup." I wrapped the present. He looked at the present in the bag. You can open it now if you want, he said. Or later. Whichever. Now, Callum said. He unwrapped it. It was a drawing. Owen's drawing. He had taken time with it. It was the house. His house. 14 Birchwood Lane. From the front. With the paper chain in the window. Glowing. And the chimney with a small curl of smoke. And in the bottom corner very small a boy. Walking up the driveway. So you remember what it looks like, Owen said. From outside. With the chain. Callum looked at the drawing. The house he had been inside for so long. Seen from outside. With light in the window. With a boy walking toward it. He could not speak for a moment. Owen waited. He was good at waiting. He had learned it. Thank you, Callum said. You're welcome, Owen said. He looked at the house in the drawing. Then at the actual house. It looks better with the chain, he confirmed. It does, Callum said. Owen looked at the car. His mother was waiting. I have to go, he said. We're going to Grandma's. In Maine. Give her my best, Callum said. Owen thought about this. I'll tell her about you, he said. Is that okay? That's okay, Callum said. Owen turned to go. He did the thing. He turned back. I sent the letter, he said. Callum looked at him. Owen's face was doing the complicated thing. The thing of someone who has done something brave and is still working out how they feel about it. I got it out of the drawer at your house, he said. Last Saturday. When you were making coffee. I hope that's okay. I was going to ask, but then I thought if I asked you might say let's think about it and I needed to just do it. Callum looked at the boy. That's okay, he said. He called, Owen said. My dad. He called the next day. We talked for a long time. Longer than usual. I told him what I said in the letter, and he said he was glad I said it. He stopped. He looked at his feet. He's coming to see me, he said. In January. Not to stay. Just to see me. He's still getting better. But he's going to come. He looked up. The letter worked, he said. Callum looked at this boy. At his gap-toothed face. His complicated, brave 9-year-old face. I'm very glad, Callum said. Owen nodded. He looked at the drawing in Callum's hands. I hope it gets easier, Owen said. Being here. I hope you can go outside more. He said it simply. Without drama. Just an honest wish from a person who meant it. I'm working on it, Callum said. Owen looked at him. I know, he said. He walked down the driveway. He got in the car. He waved from the window. Callum raised his hand. The car drove away. He stood in the open doorway. He held the drawing. He looked at the street. He stood there longer than usual. The cold air was sharp. Clean. The kind of cold that is very clear. He stood in it. He breathed it. He looked at Birchwood Lane. He looked at the yellow house down the hill. The light in the kitchen. The broken fence, which Sarah had said they were going to fix and hadn't yet. He looked at the oak tree in his own back garden, visible from where he was standing. The platform. The unfinished structure. He thought spring. He went back inside. He left the door open for one more minute. He breathed the cold air. He closed the door. He went to the kitchen. He put the drawing on the windowsill beside the reindeer. He warmed the soup. He sat at the kitchen table. He ate. He thought about the letter in the drawer. He thought about the letters still there. The ones to Joe. The ones to Daniel Park. He thought about what it would mean to send them. He thought about whether he was ready. He thought, not yet. He thought, but closer. He ate the soup. It was very good. He thought about Sarah making it. He thought about Owen wrapping the drawing in plain brown paper with a red ribbon. He thought about character. About things that are uneven but good. He finished the soup. He washed the bowl. He went to the sitting room. He sat in the chair. He picked up a book. He read. The paper chain was in the window. The fire was going. The reindeer was on the windowsill. The drawing beside it. He read until late. He went to bed. He slept well. Perhaps the best night he had slept in a long time. He was not sure why. Or rather, he was sure why. He was just not yet ready to say it out loud. But it was something to do with a 9-year-old boy and a letter and a drawing of a house with light in the window. It was something to do with being seen. He slept. Part 9 January. Owen's father came on a Saturday. Owen told Callum the week before. He said, "My dad is coming on Saturday. Same time as our Saturday. Is it okay if I come later?" Callum said, "Of course. Take the time you need." Owen looked at him. He seemed to be deciding something. "Would you like to meet him?" Owen said. "After. If it goes okay. He could come up the hill." Callum thought about this. He thought about a man who had left his son in July, who had been trying to get better, who had called after Owen's letter. He thought about complicated reasons. He thought about what he knew about hard situations. He thought about the letter in his drawer. To the young man who had been driving the car. He had not sent it. But he had written it. He had written it more than once. He thought about what was in it. What he had said in the version he had not sent. In the versions after. He thought about what it would mean to say those things to a real person. He thought about what Owen needed him to do. "Yes," he said. "If it goes okay, bring him up." Owen's face did a complicated, relieved thing. "Okay," he said. He settled on the rug. "What are we reading this week?" he said. Callum held up a book. Owen looked at the cover. "What's it about?" Owen said. "Second chances," Callum said. Owen looked at the cover for a long time. He looked at Callum. "I think that's the right book for this week," he said. "I thought so too," Callum said. He opened the book. He read. They came up the hill at 1 in the afternoon. Callum saw them from the window. Owen in the blue jacket. A man beside him. Taller than Owen. The same dark hair. They were not holding hands. But they were walking close. The particular close of two people who are finding their way back to each other. Owen knocked. Callum opened the door. Owen looked slightly different. Something in his face. Like something had been reorganized slightly. Not fixed. Not resolved. Reorganized. "This is my dad," Owen said. "His name is James." James Marsh was 38 years old. He had Owen's dark hair and Owen's brown eyes, and he had the particular look of someone who has been through something very hard and is on the other side of it. Not at the end. The other side. Still going. But on the other side. He looked at Callum. He seemed nervous. "Owen talks about you," he said. "He talks about you too," Callum said. James Marsh took a breath. "Thank you," he said. "For reading with him. For being here." "Come in," Callum said. They came in. Owen went directly to the sitting room as he always did. James stopped in the hallway. He looked at the books. He ran his hand along a spine. Owen's gesture. Exactly. The same hand. The same movement. Callum noticed. "Owen told me about your son," James said quietly. Callum said nothing. "I'm sorry," James said. Not a polite sorry. A real one. The kind that knows what it is saying. "Thank you," Callum said. James looked at the sitting room. At Owen on the rug. At the fire. "He seems better," James said. "Than he was in July." He said it with guilt in his voice. He knew it. He was not trying to hide it. "He is," Callum said. "He's been brave." "He's always been brave," James said. "He gets it from his mother." He paused. "He got it from his mother," he corrected himself. "He gets it from himself." He looked at Callum. "I was trying to be better for him," he said. "Leaving. I know it didn't look like that. I know what it looked like." "I know," Callum said. James looked at him. "Owen said you understand complicated reasons," he said. "He told you that?" Callum said. "He said you stay inside because of something complicated," James said. "He said you're working on it. He said it takes time and that's okay." Callum thought about Owen saying this. To his father. In a conversation about hard things. He thought about what Owen had carried from their Saturdays. The things a 9-year-old boy had made his own. That take time and that's okay. He thought about what it meant to have a child carry your words to places you could not go. "Come and sit down," Callum said. They went to the sitting room. Owen was on the rug. Callum sat in his chair. James sat on the couch. He sat the way a person sits when they are not sure of their right to be comfortable. Owen looked at his father. He looked at Callum. He looked at the fire. Can you read? Owen said to Callum. Callum looked at him. Out loud, he said. Now. The one we're reading, Owen said. About second chances. You could read a bit. It's okay if Dad hears. James looked at his son. Something crossed his face. The parent face. The soft private thing. You don't have to, he started. I want to, Owen said. He looked at Callum. Callum looked at the book. He thought about what reading it meant in this context. With this man in the room. This man who was trying to find his way back. He thought about what the book was about. He thought about what Owen had understood about it. He picked up the book. He found their place. He began to read. He read for 20 minutes. The fire went. The snow was on the roof. A man who had been away. A boy on a rug. A professor who had been inside for 4 years. All of them in a story about second chances. All of them listening. Callum read. He did not know exactly what would happen next. For any of them. He thought perhaps that was all right. He thought perhaps not knowing was different from not having a direction. He had a direction. He thought they all might. He kept reading. Part in spring. March came. Owen turned 10. He arrived on his birthday Saturday with the particular energy of someone who knows they have aged significantly overnight. I'm 10, he said in the doorway. I know, Callum said. Happy birthday. Owen came in. He looked at the sitting room. He looked at Callum. What did you get me? He said. I thought we'd go to the bookshop, Callum said. Owen went very still. The one on Main Street, he said. Yes, Callum said. Owen looked at him. That's outside, Owen said. I know, Callum said. Owen was very careful with his expression. He did not want to show too much. He had learned this tendency from somewhere close by and probably recognized it in himself. Okay, he said. Give me a minute to get my coat, Callum said. He went to the hallway. He put on his coat. He had not worn the coat in 4 years. It still fit. He stood in the hallway with the coat on. He looked at the door. He thought about the first time Owen had knocked on it. He thought about the chimney smoke. He thought about 11 weeks. He opened the door. He stood in the doorway. The March air was cold but not the deep cold of winter. The light was different. The early spring light. Bright. Suggesting. Not yet warm but showing where warm was going to be. Ready. Owen said beside him. Callum looked at Birchwood Lane. At the oak at the corner. At the yellow house down the hill. At the broken fence which Sarah had fixed the week before. He thought about the boy who had walked up this driveway in November. He thought about letters. He thought about the platform in the tree. He thought about spring. He stepped off the porch. He walked down the driveway. Owen walked beside him. They walked down Birchwood Lane. Owen did not make an event of it. He talked about the book they were reading. He talked about something that happened at school. He talked about his father's visits, which were every other weekend now, which Owen said was a good amount. Enough to see him but not so much that they ran out of things to talk about. He talked about what he wanted for his birthday cake. He had decided on chocolate with the chocolate frosting, not the white frosting, because white frosting was fine but chocolate frosting was better. He talked about this for approximately 3 blocks. Callum walked beside him. He listened. He looked at the town. At the familiar streets he had not walked in 4 years. He looked at the diner on Main Street. He looked at the library with its stone steps. He looked at the bookshop. Small. Warm light inside. Books in the window. He had not been inside it in 4 years. He remembered the last time. He had gone to find a book for Eli. He had been standing in the children's section. His phone had rung. He had answered it. He had heard what had happened. He had walked out without buying anything. He had not been back. He stood outside the bookshop now. Owen was already at the door. He had his hand on the handle. He turned back. Coming, he said. Callum looked at the door. He thought about the last time. He thought about what it meant to go back. He thought about what it meant not to. He thought about second chances. He thought about things that were about getting to be different. He went to the door. He went inside. The bookshop smelled the way bookshops smell. Like paper and time and something undefinable that is specific to rooms that hold stories. He stood in it. He breathed it. He had forgotten. The way you forget things that should be unforgettable, but go quiet when you stop encountering them. Owen was already in the children's section. He was pulling books from shelves, with the efficiency of someone who knows exactly what they're looking for, and the chaos of someone who also knows what they're not looking for but wants to look at it anyway. Callum stood in the middle of the shop. He looked at the shelves. He walked slowly. He ran his hand along spines. He picked up a book he had been thinking about for 2 months. He turned it over. He read the back. He put it under his arm. He picked up another. He walked. He was in the poetry section when he heard Owen call, "Callum." He went to the children's section. Owen was holding a book. He was holding it with both hands. He was looking at the cover with the concentrated expression of someone encountering something important. "Is this the dog?" Owen said. Callum looked at the cover. "Brown dog. Floppy ears." Adventure clearly implied. The title. He recognized it. "That's the dog," he said. Owen held the book. He turned it over. He read the back. He held it against his chest. He looked at Callum. "Is this a birthday book or a me choosing it book?" he said. "Because if it's a birthday book, I want to choose something else and also have this. If it's just a regular book, then this is fine." "It's a birthday book," Callum said. "Choose something else too." Owen looked at the shelf. He chose 2 more books with the speed of someone who had known what they wanted for a while and had been waiting for permission. He held all 3. He looked at Callum. "What did you get?" he said. Callum showed him the 2 books he had chosen. Owen looked at them. He looked at one cover carefully. "What's this one about?" he said. "A man who writes letters to people he can't reach," Callum said. Owen looked at the cover. He looked at Callum. He said nothing. He was very good at saying nothing when it was the right thing. "What happens to the letters?" Owen said. "He sends them," Callum said. Owen thought about this. "Okay," he said. He went to look at one more shelf. Callum stood in the children's section. He looked at the books. He looked at the small bright covers. He thought about Eli in this section. He thought about what it was to be in a place where you had been when a person was alive. He had been avoiding those places for 7 years. He thought about what it meant to be here now. It was hard. It was the particular hard of being near the grief. He was near it. He was not inside it. He thought, "I am in the bookshop." He thought, "I came here with Owen." He thought, "Owen is over there looking at a book about sharks because apparently the dog section led him to an interest in ocean animals." He thought, "I am in the place where hard things happened." He thought, "And the place is still a bookshop." He thought, "And the books are still there." He thought, "And I am still here." He thought, "That is something." He thought, "That is not nothing." He went to find Owen. He found him comparing 2 books about ocean animals with the seriousness of a committee making a significant decision. "Both," Callum said. Owen looked up. "Both?" he said. "It's your birthday," Callum said. Owen looked at both books. He looked at Callum. He smiled the gap-toothed smile, full and uncomplicated. "Okay," he said. They went to the counter. They paid. They walked back up Birchwood Lane. Owen talked about the shark book. He talked about the dog book. He talked about which one he was going to read first. He decided the dog first, then the sharks. He explained his reasoning. Callum listened. He walked up Birchwood Lane. He was outside. In March. In the light. He was walking up his own street. He was breathing the air. He was beside a 10-year-old boy talking about dogs and sharks. He was not rushing. He was not afraid. He was not ready to cry. He was just walking. He thought, "This is what it feels like." He thought, "I forgot." He thought, "I am remembering." On the last Saturday of March, they went into the back garden. Callum and Owen. Sarah had brought Owen and stayed. She stood on the back porch. She did not come into the garden. She watched from the porch. Owen stood under the oak tree. He looked up at the platform. He looked at the wood that was there. He looked at the tools in the bag Callum had carried out. He looked at Callum. How did he build it? Owen said. Callum thought. He drew it first, he said. He made a plan. He measured everything. He was very particular about getting it right. I measure things too, Owen said. My grandma says I have a mathematician's brain. You might, Callum said. Owen looked at the platform. He looked at the tree. He studied the structure. The planks are good, he said. Some of them. The ones on the inside. The outside ones are worse. I know, Callum said. We should replace the outside ones, Owen said. And sand the edges. And add a rail. Because it's up high. He looked at Callum. Safety is important, he said. It is, Callum said. Owen looked at the tools. He looked at the wood Callum had bought. He crouched down. He examined the wood. He stood up. He looked at Callum. Are you ready? He said. Callum looked at the tree. He had not stood under this tree in 2 years. He had not touched the wood of the platform. He had not touched anything of what Eli had built. He had not been ready. He thought about whether he was ready now. He thought about what Owen had said to his father in January, about how things take time, about how that's okay. He thought about the drawer. He thought about the letters. He thought about what was in them. He thought about what it meant to keep going even when you couldn't see the end. He thought about the lighthouse. He thought, I am going to build this. He thought, not for a moment, not as a symbol, not as a healing, just because it needs to be finished. And because I have a 10-year-old boy here who knows how to measure things and believes that safety is important. And because Eli started it. And because starting something is a gift. And finishing it is not betrayal. It is the continuation of the gift. He thought all of this in about 5 seconds. He looked at Owen. Ready, he said. They built. Took most of the morning. Sarah brought coffee and hot chocolate at 11. She handed them up their drinks from the porch. She watched for a while. She went inside to give them space. Owen measured things twice. Every time. Without being asked. Every plank. Every nail. He was patient with the parts that were harder. He asked questions. Good questions. Practical questions about which way to angle the planks and how to test the weight and where the rail would give the most support. Callum answered them. He had built things with his hands before. A long time ago. He had forgotten he knew how. He was remembering. By noon they had the new planks on. The rail in place. The surface sanded. They climbed up. Both of them. They sat on the platform. In the oak tree. In the last of March. The sky was pale blue. There were buds on the branches. The suggestion of green. Owen sat with his legs hanging over the edge. He looked at the garden. At the house. At the porch where Sarah was standing again. He looked at all of it. You can see everything from here, he said. Yes, Callum said. The whole garden, Owen said. And part of the street. And the neighbor's roof. And the sky. He looked at the sky. Eli liked it up here, Callum said. He had said the name. Out loud. In the tree. Where the name had once lived. Owen was quiet. He did not make this a large moment. He received it simply. What did he think about, Owen said. Up here. Callum thought. He told me he came up here to think about things, Callum said. He called it the thinking house. He looked at the platform. He used to say, there's a thinking house in the tree, Dad. Sometimes you need a thinking house. Owen looked at the platform. He considered. Is it still a thinking house? He said. Callum thought about this. He thought about what it meant. Whether finishing it changed what it was. He thought about how a thing can be two things. Can be what it started as and what it became. Can hold the person who made it and the people who came after. Can be finished without being replaced. Yes, Callum said. I think it still is. Owen nodded. He looked at the garden. He swung his legs. He looked at Callum. Can I come here sometimes? He said. To the thinking house. When I need to think. Callum looked at Owen. This boy. Who had knocked on a closed door. Who had walked in with an envelope. Who had told him about dogs and gold and pragmatism. Who had sat on a rug and listened. Who had written a letter and sent it. Who had counted knocks. Who had noticed chimney smoke. Who had brought paper chains and drawings of lit windows. Who had come into the garden in March and helped finish something that had been unfinished for 7 years. Yes, Callum said. Anytime you need. Owen looked at the garden one more time. He looked at the sky. He looked at the buds on the branches. He looked at the pale blue March sky. Good, he said. They sat in the thinking house. Above the garden. In the tree. In the spring. Two people who were very different. Who had come to be in the same place. Who had found each other quiet in a loud world and loud in a quiet world, and somewhere between those two things had found a third thing. Which is what happens when you let someone in. Not always. Not easily. But sometimes. When you open the door. Part 11. The letter he sent. In April, Callum opened the drawer. He had been thinking about it for 2 months. Since Owen's letter. Since January. Since the bookshop. Since the thinking house. He had been thinking about the letters that were in the drawer. The ones that had never been sent. He sat at the desk. He opened the drawer. He took out all the letters. He laid them on the desk. He looked at them. He read them. All of them. Including the 4 to himself. He read those last. He read them in order. The first one from the worst night. The second 6 months later. The third a year after. The fourth the new pages he had written in November. He read them. He sat with them. He thought about what they said. He thought about what they needed. He thought about the letters to Joe. He thought about Margaret saying she worries. He thought about what it would mean to tell Joe that he was better. Not fine. Not healed. Better. That he had opened the door. That he had walked to the bookshop. That he had built the thinking house. That there was a boy. That the boy was good. He thought about what it would mean for Joe to know these things. Not to reconcile. Not to undo. Just to know. He thought about what it would mean for him. He thought about carrying something versus setting it down. He thought about Owen setting his letter on the table. The act of forming the true thing on paper. The weight shifting. He took a piece of the good cream paper. He picked up his pen. He thought about the true thing first. He wrote. He wrote for a long time. He wrote the letter to Joe. Not the one from the drawer. A new one. Starting where he was now. Not where he had been. He told her about November. About the door opening. About Owen with the envelope and the gap teeth and the blue jacket. He told her about Saturdays. About the books. About what Owen had said about the Lighthouse. He told her about the bookshop. He told her about the thinking house. He told her that he was not the same as he was when she left. He was not saying that to make a claim. He was saying it because it was true and because she had worried for a long time and he thought she deserved to know that the worry could be slightly smaller now. He told her about the reindeer on the windowsill. About the paper chain. About the drawing of the house with the light in the window. He told her that he still missed Eli every day. He told her that missing Eli was not the same as being destroyed by it. He told her he was learning the difference. He told her it had taken a long time. He told her he was sorry for the ways in which he had disappeared. He was not asking for anything from that. He was saying it because it was true and because true things deserve to be said. He told her that he hoped she was well. He told her that he thought she was good. He had always thought she was good. He sealed the letter. He addressed it. He set it on the desk. He looked at it. He thought about the other letter. The one to Daniel Park. He had written it more than once. He had not known for a long time what he wanted to say in it. He thought he might know now. He thought about what Owen had said. About his father leaving. I'm not mad. Even though I am a little. But mostly I understand. Even though I don't completely. He thought about whether he could say that. To a young man who had been 23. Who had been in a hurry. Who had come around a bend too fast. Who was 30 now. Who had, in some form, been carrying this for 7 years too. He thought about what he knew about carrying. He thought about the drawer. He thought about being inside versus being near. He thought about the thinking house. He thought about what Eli would say. He thought Eli would say, "Do it, Dad." He thought Eli would say, "It's the kind thing." He thought Eli would say, "You measure twice and then you build it." He took another piece of paper. He wrote. He wrote for 40 minutes. He wrote the letter to Daniel Park. He told him the truth. He told him that the anger had been enormous, that it had lasted years, that it had changed the shape of his life. He did not soften this. He told it as it had been. He also told Daniel Park that he had been building something very slowly, that he was still building it, that he did not know if forgiveness was the right word, but that he had come to understand over time that carrying the anger had cost him things he had not been prepared to keep paying. He told Daniel Park that he did not want anything from him. He was not asking for an apology. He was not asking for contact. He was writing because he had been keeping the weight for 7 years, and he was ready to set some of it down. And this was his way of doing that. He told Daniel Park that he hoped he had been able to build something too, that he hoped he had been able to find a way to carry it that did not destroy him. He told him this honestly, not as kindness for kindness's sake, as truth, as what he actually genuinely hoped. He sealed the letter. He addressed it. He put both letters on the desk. He sat back. He looked at them. He thought about Owen taking his letter from the drawer. I needed to just do it. He thought about the boy who had not stopped, even when it was bad, even when the ending was not visible. He thought about what it meant to keep going. Not to be done. Not to be healed. Just to keep going. He got up. He put on his coat. He picked up both letters. He walked down Birchwood Lane to the mailbox on the corner. He stood at the mailbox. He held the letters. He thought about all the things. The years. The drawer. The quiet. The door that had been closed. The door that had opened. A boy with an envelope. A paper chain. A drawing of a lit window. A thinking house in an oak tree. He put the letters in the mailbox. He stood there for a moment. He breathed. He turned and walked back up Birchwood Lane. He walked up his driveway. He looked at his house. He thought about the drawing Owen had made. The house from outside. With the chain in the window. With the chimney smoke. With a boy walking toward it. He thought, I want to see my house from the outside more often. He went inside. He made coffee. He stood at the kitchen window. He looked at the back garden. At the oak tree. At the thinking house. He thought about Owen up there. Legs swinging. Looking at the sky. He thought about Eli. He thought about them both. He thought about what it meant to hold two people in the same place. The person who had gone and the person who was here. The grief that stayed and the life that continued. He thought about how both of those things could be true. He thought they can both be true. He thought that is the thing. He thought. That is the thing that took me 7 years and a 9-year-old boy to understand. He stood at the window. He looked at the tree. He drank his coffee. He thought about next Saturday. He thought about the book they were reading. He thought about the chapter they were on. He thought about what happened next in the story. He was looking forward to it. He was actually genuinely looking forward to a specific thing in the specific future. He noticed this. He held it for a moment. He thought, that is not nothing. He thought, that is in fact quite a lot. He stood at the window. He looked at the thinking house. He thought spring. He thought yes. Part 12. What the letters said back. Joe wrote back in 2 weeks. He recognized her handwriting before he had fully registered what he was looking at. He stood at the mailbox for a moment. He took the letter inside. He made coffee. He sat at the kitchen table. He opened it. Joe's handwriting. The particular loops of it. The way she made her lowercase e. He had known this handwriting for 17 years. He read the letter. She wrote simply. The way she always had. Without excess. Joe did not use 10 words when 5 worked. She wrote that she had read his letter 3 times. She wrote that she was glad about Owen. She was very specifically glad about Owen. She wrote that she was glad about the bookshop. That she had always known he would go back. She had simply not known when. She wrote that she was sorry too. For leaving when she did. She understood that she had left him very alone. She had not known what else to do. She had not been strong enough at that time to carry both of them. She was sorry for that. She was not asking for anything from that either. Just saying it. Because true things deserve to be said. She wrote that she was well. She had moved to Portland. She was teaching. She had a small house with a garden. She had a dog. She had named the dog Eli. She wrote this simply. Without apology. As a thing she had done. A thing that was hers. She wrote. I hope that's all right. Felt right. He deserves a name that stays in the world. Callum read this sentence twice. He sat with it. He thought about the name staying in the world. He thought about all the ways a name stays. The letters in a drawer. The thinking house. The reading corner. The books that get read. The things a person believes that other people carry forward. He thought about Eli staying in the world. He thought yes. He thought the name stays. He thought, I am beginning to understand that. He read to the end of Joe's letter. She signed it. With love, which was what she had always signed her letters. He had not had a letter from her in 3 years. He sat at the kitchen table. He held the letter. He thought about the dog named Eli in a small house in Portland. He thought about Joe in a garden. He thought about her teaching. He thought about what she would be like as a teacher. He thought she would be good. He thought she would be very good. He thought, I am glad she is well. He thought this without qualifier. Without condition. Just, I am glad she is well. He set the letter on the table. He got up. He went to the study. He opened the drawer. He took out the letters that remained. He brought them to the table. He looked at them. The 4 letters to himself. He thought about whether to keep them. He thought about what they were. A record. A history of the worst of it. A proof that it had been real. That he had been there. That it had happened. He put them back in the drawer. He closed the drawer. He went to the window. He looked at the back garden. He went to the back door. He opened it. He stepped outside. He walked to the oak tree. He stood at the base of it. He looked up through the branches. He could see the platform, the new wood and the old, the rail in place, the thinking house. He put his hand on the bark of the tree. He had not touched the tree in 2 years. The bark was the same. Trees do not change quickly. This was something he had always appreciated. Their slowness. Their continuation. He stood with his hand on the tree. He looked up. He thought about Eli up there. He thought about Owen up there. He thought about what the tree had held. He stood there for a while. The spring air. The early afternoon. The garden coming back. He could see the crocuses at the edge of the garden. He had not planted them. Joe had planted them. 6 years ago. They had come back every year. He had not seen them in 2 years. He was seeing them now. Small. Purple. Coming up through the cold ground. Coming back. As they did. As they would. He stood in the garden. He thought about next Saturday. He thought about Owen. He thought about the book. He thought about what he might read next. He thought about the thinking house. He thought about the letters. He thought about Joe's dog. He thought about all of it. He thought, I am in the garden. He thought, I am standing at the tree. He thought, it is April. He thought, I can hear a bird. He stood there. He listened to the bird. He stayed. Part 13. What Owen knew. Owen came on a Saturday in May. He was not quite the same Owen as November. Taller. The hair still doing its thing. But something different in the face. Something that was the particular difference between a person who has been carrying something and set it down. Not all of it. Some of it. The part that could be set down. He came in. He went to the sitting room. He stood. He looked at Callum. Dad came last weekend, he said. We went to the Natural History Museum. How was it? Callum said. Good, Owen said. There were bones. Very old bones. He knows a lot about bones. He's good at museums. He looked at the rug. He looked at Callum. I think he's better, Owen said. Not all the way. But better. Good, Callum said. Owen looked at the books. He looked at the bookshelf. He looked at a particular shelf. He went to it. He found the book he was looking for. He pulled it out. He held it. He looked at the cover. He held it out to Callum. Can we read this one? He said. Callum looked at it. It was the Lighthouse keeper story. The one he had read to Eli 7 times. The one Eli had read back to him on the 8th. In the serious voice. The voice of someone doing something important. He looked at the cover. He had not read it since. He had not been able to. He had put it in a specific place on the shelf. He had not touched it in 7 years. Owen had found it. Without knowing. Simply because it was there. He held it out. Callum looked at the cover. He thought about 7 times. He thought about the 8th. He thought about the serious voice. He thought about the thinking house. He thought about the letters. He thought about standing at the tree in April. He thought about, the lighthouse doesn't know it's keeping people safe. It just keeps shining. He thought about Owen saying that. He thought about Eli, who had loved the lighthouse keeper. He thought about what it would mean to read it now, to read it with Owen, to let the story be in the room again. He took the book. He sat down. Owen went to the rug. He sat in his usual position, chin on knees. He looked at the fire. He looked at Callum. Ready, Owen said. Callum opened the book. He found the first page. He read the first line. It was the same, the exact same. The words had not changed. The story had not changed. It was exactly as it had been, and also completely different, because it was here, now, with this boy, in this room, in this year, with all the years between. He read the lighthouse keeper story, the one about the light that does not know what it saves, the one about going on. He read it for the first time in 7 years. He read it with Owen, who sat very still the way he always sat very still when the story was good. He read it to the end. When he finished, Owen was quiet. He sat. He let the end settle. He was good at that. He had learned it. Or perhaps he had always known it. It's a good one, Owen said. It is, Callum said. I can see why you love it, Owen said. Callum looked at him. He had not said he loved it. He had not said anything about Eli in this book. Owen had simply known. The way he knew things. Yes, Callum said. Owen looked at the fire. Can I ask you something? He said. You can ask, Callum said. Owen thought. He was forming the question carefully. He did this when questions were important. Do you think Eli knew? He said. About the light. That you were the lighthouse. Callum was very still. He looked at the fire. He thought about this question. He thought about what it was asking. He thought about all the ordinary days. The ones he had not known to count. The mornings. The nights. The reading. The treadmill. The homework. The measuring twice. The cereal for dinner. The thinking house. He thought about being present in a life without knowing you were a lighthouse. He thought about Owen. About what Owen had said in class. The lighthouse doesn't know it's keeping people safe. He thought about whether he had been that. Whether he had kept the light going. Whether it had mattered. Whether any of the light had made it to the places it needed to reach. He thought about this for a long time. I think he knew, Callum said. In the way children know things. Without having words for them. Owen thought about this. He nodded. I think so too, he said. He looked at the fire. I think you're still being one, Owen said. A lighthouse. For me. This year. He said it the same way he said everything important. Plainly. Without excess. Without asking for a particular response. Just setting it down. Callum looked at the boy. He thought about all the Saturdays. He thought about November. He thought about the door. He thought about all the ways he had not intended to be anything for anyone. He had opened the door. He had said yes. He had read. He had listened. He had sat with. He had built. He had sent the letters. He had walked to the bookshop. He had stood in the back garden. He had touched the tree. He had not intended to be a lighthouse. He had just kept the light going. Because Owen knocked. Because Margaret sent him. Because the chimney was smoking and a 9-year-old noticed. You were one for me too, Callum said. This year. Owen looked surprised. Genuinely surprised. As if this had not occurred to him. I was just coming for the books, he said. I know, Callum said. Owen thought about this. He looked at the ceiling. He looked at the fire. He looked at Callum. He smiled. Not the complicated smile. Not the careful one. The simple one. The surprised to be pleased one. The one that didn't know it was coming. Okay, he said. He settled back on the rug. He looked at the shelf. What do we read next? He said. Callum looked at the shelves. He thought about all the books. He thought about all the ones he had not read in years. He thought about all the ones he was ready to read again. He got up. He went to the shelf. He ran his hand along the spines. He found the one he was looking for. He took it down. He held it. He thought yes. He went back to the chair. He sat down. He showed Owen the cover. Owen looked at it. What's it about? Owen said. Callum thought. Returning, he said. And finding that the place you came back to is different. And that you are different. And that different is not the same as gone. Owen thought about this carefully. That sounds right, he said. He settled on the rug. Okay, he said. You can start. Callum opened the book. He found the first page. He began to read. The fire was going. The books were on the shelves. 2 people in a room. One on a chair. One on the rug. Both of them quiet. Both of them listening. Both of them building something. Not a house. Not a platform in a tree. Something you cannot see from outside. Something that takes time and does not announce itself. Something that grows in the space between a closed door and an open one. Between a letter written and a letter sent. Between a name said out loud after years of silence. Between one Saturday and the next. Between a chimney smoke noticed and a knock answered. Between a lighthouse and the ships it does not know it saved. Callum read. Owen listened. The story went on. Epilogue. What stays? The thinking house became a thing that stayed. Owen came to it in summer. He came in fall. He came when he needed to think. He came when he did not need to think but wanted to be somewhere that felt right. He brought Callum up sometimes. They sat together. They talked about things. Books. Owen's father. School. Owen's observations about the world, which were plentiful and specific and often startling. They talked about Eli sometimes. Not always. Not on a schedule. When it came. Owen had the particular quality of someone who knew when to bring a name and when to let it stay quiet. He brought it when it was needed. He left it when it was not. He was 10 and then 11. He grew taller. The hair continued its ambitions. He talked more at school. Not too much. The right amount. He had found his right amount. He had explained to Callum that the right amount was different for different people and you had to find yours by trial and adjustment, not by copying someone else's amount. Callum thought this was one of the truest things he had heard about communication. He told Owen so. Owen accepted this. He had come to accept compliments about his insights without too much surprise. He had begun to trust them. Callum began to leave the house more regularly. Not dramatically. Not with ceremony. Gradually. The way a season changes. You do not notice the exact moment winter becomes spring. You just notice one day that the crocuses are there. He went to the bookshop on Tuesday mornings. He went to the library once a week. He started going to the diner on Sunday mornings. For waffles and black coffee. The particular quiet of an early morning. He sat in the same booth he had used before. He read. He nodded at people he recognized. He said good morning. He was working on good morning. It was coming along. He called Margaret every 2 weeks. They talked about books. They talked about Owen. They talked about the world. She asked him once, about a year after November, whether he had ever considered going back to teaching. He said he was thinking about it. She said that was probably enough for now. He said yes. He thought about it for 6 months. He called the college. He talked to his former colleague Dr. Amara, who had the particular quality of someone who was very glad to hear from you, and did not make an event of the fact that it had been a long time. He talked about teaching. He talked about whether there was something. Dr. Amara said. There might be something small. A seminar. Spring term. If you wanted. He said he would think about it. He thought about it for 1 more month. He said yes. He wrote to Daniel Park. He did not hear back. He had not expected to. The letter was enough. The setting down was enough. He thought about Daniel Park sometimes. He thought about the 30-year-old man who had been carrying a 7-year weight. He thought about whether the letter had helped. He did not know. He thought maybe. He thought the letter was true. That is what I could give. That is what I gave. He thought that is enough. Joe wrote twice more. The first time to tell him about the dog. About how the dog was very large and very undisciplined and had eaten one of her good shoes and she was furious with him, and also entirely devoted to him. Callum wrote back that this sounded accurate to the character of dogs in general, and did not reflect poorly on anyone specifically. She wrote back that this was a very characteristic thing for him to say. He smiled when he read this. The second time she wrote, it was to tell him she was coming to Harwick for a conference. She asked if she could have coffee. Just coffee. Just an hour. She thought it might be good. She would understand if he said no. He thought about this for 2 days. He wrote back. He said yes. They had coffee at the diner on a Sunday morning. They sat in the booth he used now. She was the same. Slightly different. As people are. She had the particular quality of someone who had worked very hard on something. He thought he probably had the same quality. He thought they recognized it in each other. They talked for 2 hours. Not about what had happened. About what they were now. Where they were. What they were doing. She told him about Portland. He told her about Owen. He told her about the thinking house. He told her about the bookshop. He told her about the seminar. She looked at him. She said, "I'm glad." She said it the way she always said true things. Simply. Without excess. He said, "I'm glad too." He meant it. She left after 2 hours. She hugged him at the door of the diner. It was the first time they had touched in 3 years. He thought it does not feel like it did. He thought it feels like something else. He thought that is the way of things. That people you love change shape in your life. They do not disappear. They become what they become. And you hold them in the new shape. And sometimes that is enough. And sometimes it is more than enough. And you find you are grateful. For the new shape. For what remains. He walked home up Birchwood Lane. In October. The leaves. The light. The oak at the corner. The yellow house with the fixed fence. He walked past it. He saw the light in the kitchen. He walked up his driveway. He stood at his door. He looked back at Birchwood Lane. He looked at the street. He thought about November a year ago. He thought about the door that had been closed. He thought about the boy walking up this driveway. He thought about what doors were for. Not for closing. For opening. And for closing. And for opening again. He went inside. He took off his coat. He made coffee. He stood at the kitchen window. He looked at the back garden. At the oak tree. At the thinking house. He looked at the reindeer on the windowsill. At Owen's drawing beside it. He looked at the books on the table. The library books. Overdue as usual. Owen would remind him. He looked at the paper and pens. He thought about what he might write next. He thought about the seminar. He thought about what he would read to the students. He thought about what he would say at the beginning. About what literature was for. About what stories do. He thought about what he would say. He thought, "I will tell them the true thing." He thought, "I will say that stories are the place where we are allowed to understand things we cannot say directly." He thought, "I will say that a book is a conversation between you and everyone who has ever felt what you are feeling." He thought, "I will say that the right story at the right moment can change the direction of a person's life." He thought about this. He thought about what direction his life had changed. He thought about November. About a small fist on a closed door. He thought, yes. He thought, I will tell them that. He thought, and I will mean it. He stood at the window. He looked at the garden. He thought about Saturday. About Owen coming up the hill. About the book they were on. About the chapter they had left in the middle. About what happened next. He was genuinely looking forward to it. He thought, that is not nothing. He thought, that is in fact everything. He stood at the window. He breathed. He was home. He was in his home. He had been in it for years. But he was in it differently now. Not hiding. Present. Two different things. And he knew the difference. If this story stayed with you, you are exactly the kind of person we make these stories for, right here on Heartline Stories. Because some doors are not locked from the outside. Because some letters stay in a drawer until someone teaches you how to send them. Because a 9-year-old boy with a gap in his teeth, and a blue jacket and a backpack can walk up a hill and change the entire direction of a very closed life. Because the lighthouse does not know what it saves. It just keeps shining. Because we are all, at some point, in a house with the chimney going and the door closed, waiting for someone to notice the smoke. And because sometimes the person who notices is 10 years old and has opinions about sharks and believes that gold is practical and knows, with the complete sureness of a child who has decided something, that the dog should come with us. The world is less alone than it feels. And the right person at the right door changes everything. Right here. On Heartline Stories.